And good evening again. Today, on this day prepared just for us, 2/22/23, this is recording 484. 484. I've simply entitled it, The Breath of the Almighty. The Breath of the Almighty. And as I was just going over my notes and pondering, some questions began to come to me as to where will a man find happiness or completeness? Or where would a person find completeness? And in conversation with many people, you'll find that people are not searching for the same things. Their happiness is not found in the same things. And then you start to see where some people find happiness in politics. They see the power of running something. Some people find it in money, the power in being able to do whatsoever they choose, and to having influence or affluence, so that you find that a lot of people are deemed above the law, or when they get caught in negative activity, their punishment is never equal to that of those who don't have influence or affluence. And you find others in social gatherings and whatnot, and you begin to ask yourself the question, how is one looked upon that says, I am searching for God? I am searching for that which I believe animates or rules the universe. Then you begin to understand how absurd that idea may appear to some, because there are people who actually believe they have found God, and they have found God in what they call spiritual disciplines. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean the actual spiritual expressions of being able to contact that beyond the physical senses. But some people just simply memorize scriptures, or they memorize what they believe to be principles or actions, or they put themselves in gatherings where they kind of toast to each other that, yes, we're doing fine, and they come off as judges on those who do not operate the way that they feel the operation should be. And yet we come back and we ask ourselves, how can I explain to someone that I am searching for the breath of the Almighty? How would you be able to really, really pull that off and convince someone that not only is it attainable, but it is attainable for you and for them? The breath of the Almighty, that which I am expressing just by living. I'm saying I want to contact that which is the creator or the root of. I've had some conversations this week, and people didn't actually realize what they were saying, but they were actually telling me that they know that there's a creator out there, but they just choose not to operate within the confines or the dictates or the commands of the Holy Scriptures. They know that it's there, but they choose not to. Then they pointed out to me that also that they know that there are those who think that they are actually operating there, and they know that they're not. Interesting. And here I am trying to convince someone that I am seeking communion with the most holiest of expressions that exist, the breath of the Almighty. I then come to the realization as to why Jesus said, don't tell anybody what you've just witnessed. Don't tell anyone that you saw me do this or you believe I did this. But he did say, simply believe in me. Simply believe that it is possible, and you shall have it. You see, the Master stated that within every person is this harmony. Within every person is this harmony. And there is nothing of the senses that can match the completeness that one would come to. Is that enough to cause you or to cause someone to simply say, I'm going to drop everything in this world in search of that? To believe that to find such a harmony would be the treasure of treasures. I've noticed over the past month, I think, or maybe 2 months, that the lotteries have risen above $1 billion and have been won. And we don't even know the people who did not win the total, matching numbers. They matched certain numbers and were awarded great sums of money. And one would think that that would be the treasure of treasures. And yet, here we find ourselves saying, no, the treasure of treasures is to know as I am known. To know as I am already known. Listen at the message that's being said there. To know as I am known. How then does the breath of the Almighty already know me, and I decide that I want to know how this Almighty knows me? Jesus stated that no amount of completeness in this world, no amount of what we call security could be found that would match this harmony when it was found. And when I thought about that, I thought about the lady with the issue of blood who simply said, if I could just touch the hem of his garment. And in the three-dimensional world, the hem of his garment were those little tassels hanging down, and we perceived that she touched a little, just a tiny bit. And yet, Jesus was saying, no, she touched all. For it is impossible to touch a small amount of God. Is that something that you're willing to give up? Are you willing to give up the three-dimensional world that you could attain such a feat and yet not be able to express the proof? Oh, yes, you can live in it. You can live in it to eternity. But who then would believe that you actually had found this? The breath of the Almighty. This is a treasure that is greater than one that we would put in a vault, or that we would hide in a safety deposit box, or that we would enclose in a bank where someone watches over. He's saying this, you would tell someone, yes, I have money in the bank. Yes, I have precious jewels here, locked up here. Yes, I have this. But would you ever state that you had found the breath of the Almighty? He said to find it, we must die to this world and attain a plane of happiness within ourselves. Is it possible? Is it possible to be totally complete and happy within yourself with no one else knowing it? Wow. The complete kingdom, he said, is within us. And we must seek it until it is revealed. He also stated that though many profess to seek, very few are actually, truly, sincerely from their heart seeking the breath of the Almighty. And then he goes on to say, and even a fewer amount actually find it. Why do we seek the breath of the Almighty? Is it for fear? Fear of losing our lives? Is it for fear of living in poverty? Is it for fear of burning, as they say, in a hellfire throughout eternity? Why would one give up this three-dimensional activity called life, where it is possible, as they say, to be and to do anything, especially in America? Why would one give that up to search for something they could never show? To know as I am known. One's attention must be centered and focused on something and someone they have no idea of how to contact. Therein is the first step defined. Sincerity demands humility. To humble oneself is a belief in something not actually visible, and that the end of the search will result in the original idea created through desire. To humble oneself in a belief in something not actually visible, and that the end of this search would result in the expression of the original idea or desire created. There will be much sitting, waiting, contemplating, listening on just one thing. Will he speak? Will the breath of the Almighty make itself known to me? And yet, this breath, do we draw in and exhale continuously without effort? Or should I say, is there a spirit that is breathing in and breathing out on its own? And we are experiencing the breath of the Almighty while we think we have to search for it. Is he aware of me? Is the breath exhaling and inhaling? Will I hear him if he does speak? Is the breath inhaling and exhaling? Is not the breath making it known to you that it knows you? Maybe if we change our attitude and stop searching for the breath of the Almighty and realize I have the breath of the Almighty. For I know now that in and of myself I cannot create a breath to inhale, and I cannot create a breath to exhale. But this breath is making me to know that I am known. Wow. This journey can only be completed by the aspirant in spite of the minutes, hours, days, months, and years that it humbles itself sincerely to know. And what is the goal? Just to behold the knowing. What happens if my attitude suddenly changes and accepts the fact that I have, I know, I am the breath of the Almighty? And from that perspective, I live and move and breathe, realizing that this breath is all around me. This breath is in everything. This breath is expressing its love throughout. And it matters not what the three-dimensional senses express or suggest. This breath knows me. For if it did not know me, it would not be within me. So then, I do know, don't I? I do know as I am known. To secure the belief that he does exist and is a rewarder of all that diligently seek him. What is going to prove that to me? I say, show me a sign. Show me something and so I can believe. And we know what Jesus retorted when that was given to him. He said, there will only be one sign given you, the sign of Jonah. What was that sign? 3 days, or in spiritual terms, in a complete movement of understanding, we move from not knowing to knowing. That's the sign. A spiritual movement that moves us from a three-dimensional aspect of life to what you could call a fourth dimensional or an all-encompassing dimensional aspect of living. And yet, that breath is inhaling and exhaling, stating one glorious fact. Not only that I know you, but if you would stop and reckon with yourself, you would state, I know you. One goal only. We call it communion. And that's exactly what it is. There is a knowing, as we would say on the God side, and there is a knowing that we know from our side, and they are what? One and the same. A shift in consciousness made by me to accept the fact that I know now as I am known, and that is the movement that brings into expression all things necessary in this thing we call the experience of life. We must prove that the Father sees us as His. We must commune that we can rest, that we can rest. For the souls long not for possessions, but our soul longs for one thing, the knowing of its heritage. No more words on a page or verbiages spouted from lips, but an inner knowing. I belong, and nothing can separate me from this. Wow. You see, we are constantly asking God to show us that He loves us, and the breath just keeps right on inhaling, and the breath keeps right on exhaling. And in between, what is it saying? I know you. I know you. I have positioned myself so closely to you. How is it that you don't know me? Each meditation or contemplation of truth must have only one purpose in mind. That is in knowing, in receiving, in acceptance. I know. I know. We care not how long, for we have been assured that he who seeks finds. What is there to be found after you say, I know? And then we throw up an obstacle. But I don't feel. Wait a minute. The breath is doing what? Inhaling and exhaling, stating a treasure of treasure. I know you. He who seeks finds. He who hungers and thirsts for righteousness shall be filled. So then what is this righteousness? Knowing. That's it. Knowing. Because when you know, you have been clothed in the righteousness of God. You've been clothed in all of heaven. There's nothing lacking. There's nothing being kept from you. Be careful. We are possibly keeping ourselves from our blessings because we don't feel. But we know, don't we? How do you know? Inhale and exhale, and it's not being done by you. As much as the daily routines must be followed and exercised, we do them and discipline our actions to fulfill them, never losing focus on entering the secret place within until he whose right it is to come comes with his reward. And his reward is knowing. Consciously knowing. We seek with no object in mind, only knowing. How difficult is this? Some would say very. Through the years I have said, well, this is very hard. This is hard. But I had never come to the place that knowing, not feeling, but knowing. Knowing will bring feeling. Feeling will not bring knowing. I must first know that he exists and he is a rewarder. Knowing. But he who sets out has been called from on high. This call overtakes his desires, and this is his vision all the day long. I walk in knowing. My every thought is how to achieve, for I cannot be excluded from God's thoughtfulness. I have lost all thoughts of what others are preoccupied with, for my only desire is to answer the call. Thank you, I know. Within is a confirming understanding which grows, and somehow, and we can take that word and throw it out, somehow we will be satisfied. No, not somehow. Not in the vast way that we put somehow, God will find a way. No, knowing is the way. And you know. Isn't this what Jesus said to Philip when Philip said, show us the way? Jesus said, dude, you know. You know the way. Have I been so long with you? Has the breath been so long with you? Inhaling and exhaling, and you do not know? Confidence fills every subsequent breath now. Why is confidence coming? Because I know that there is my Father expressing his love for me by inhaling and exhaling and just expressing every point of blessing within the temple, which I am, and expelling every negative limitation that I have carried, all in the breath. The breath of the Almighty is mine. Nothing now deters, for I have found him for whom my heart pants, for knowing the breath of the Almighty is mine. God bless you.